Welcome back to another episode with Falcon of Books and Beers. Hi, Falc.
How are you, bro?
Long time no see, bro. How's life?
Not feeling the best. Just got the booster.
The booster.
So I'm a little down, but I'm feeling good. Love the mics.
Love the mics.
Love the mics. Hopefully you can listen to it perfectly.
New purchase. We got our Christmas gifts early. Santa came.
Same.
Our boy. He's actually our boy.
Our boy.
We had some beers with him yesterday. Got kind of plastered. But yeah, you know, we had to do it early before Christmas because he has to work. He has to grind. I mean, At the end of the day, he has to pay bills just like you and me.
And he's a crammer just like us.
Yeah, he's a crammer at the end.
He's finishing up all the orders.
But he delegates everything. You know, those elves, they do all the work. He'll be fine. You know, I want to get to that stage, like the MD Santa stage, that you don't do anything, you just delegate everything to your...
You think that's the case? That he gets like a toy and just sends an email saying like, please fix. Returns it back to his shop.
But yeah, anyways, happy to be here. Happy to be back in the old in the old studio.
Yeah.
And what are we gonna do today, Falc?
The 3 top books of 2021.
2021. Top 3 books of 2021 of each, because we haven't read the same ones. They don't have to come out in 2021. It's just the top 3 that we read. And for you, it's super easy because you've only read 3, right?
No, but slowly, since we're reading more and more, we start crossing off all like the must reads that you have to read. We start reading books that have come on like later on. We start reading books that started coming out this year.
Yeah.
So, for example, we want to read like Will Smith's autobiography. We also read Grand Knights, which is Matthew McConaughey's. So yeah, we're gonna start reading more and more books that came out recently. And I think that's one of the big ones for my list this year compared to last year.
Yep.
Which is a great episode, by the way. We just watched it. If you haven't seen it, go check it out.
Pretty cringe, but go check it out.
Always cringe. Always cringe.
Terrible quality. Compared to this.
Quality keeps improving, but it gives you motivation.
Yeah.
It gives you motivation.
Yeah. You see improvement.
Yeah.
Why are we not drinking beer today? What are we drinking?
Well, I'm a little sick because I got the vaccine. I also got tested. I'm negative.
So if I thought it'd be cool to say we're drinking coffee when actually has whiskey in his cup to get through the pain of the vaccine.
No. Definitely coffee.
But yeah, Falc, what would you say is the third best book you've read in? First of all, how many books have you read in 2021? Actually, all jokes aside.
10.
10. I read 12. So we'll talk about why we didn't do as well. Yeah. In terms of our goals in our next episode, which is going to be recapping 2021. But out of those 10 books, what was your third favorite book?
So out of the many hours that you spent thinking about what's a third book, also like the last 20 minutes when we were setting up, I'm gonna do a little different. I'm actually gonna mention an honorable mention.
Okay.
Before I do my third.
Fair. I'm gonna mention one too. I had one too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So my honorable mention is it's the last book I finished, and it's When Breath Becomes Air, recommended by Margarita in one of our Talk to See episodes. Shout out Margarita, awesome guest, friend of the program. I was in Medellin, Colombia actually, and I went to get a book. There weren't that many books, so obviously they were all in Spanish and there were not that many in English, and I ended up picking up this one. And one thing that I loved is that it was one of those books that you pick up and you have no clue what the book's about. So it's like a good thing to do. Picked it up, ended up reading it in 3 days. Very short. It's an autobiography, which always helps. Different book than what I always read. Got me to a lot of thinking, a lot of introspection.
Did you cry?
I did not cry, but it was the closest one I've been to crying.
Okay.
It was actually intense. And then I gave it to my brother, and my brother finished it already, and I was just telling you before I started to read it.
Yeah, before we started, he actually told me that, Barney, I know you have a list of books, but you have to read this one. You have to pick it up, finish it off in 3 days.
And the reason why I didn't put it in my top 3 books is because since, you know, it gets you to some thinking. It talks about death. That's like one of the biggest points. It's not a book that I would recommend to people that are not that used to reading.
Right.
It's not the first book that I will tell you to read when you want to get into.
Why? Is it hard to read?
Yeah, and you know, it's not hard to read because he's very good explaining it, but like it's not the type of things that you expect to be reading in a book. Like you expect a book to be reading about like Barney telling you how he built books and beers. Like that. So whatever. Yeah, a little longer explanation, but my official third book is recommended by you. Is I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Great book.
Great book.
You know, I love it. It's around here somewhere. It's not here actually, but I loved it. Personal finance books. I don't love putting personal finance books in my top 3 because they're not that fun to read, but very, very helpful. Really recommend it if you want to take a hold of your personal finances. And that's
I think that book was recommended to me by one of my best friends, and he told me that since you're starting working, if you're gonna start working anytime soon, I think it's a book that you definitely have to read. It's super easy to read, and it walks you through the steps of literally what you have to do step by step. to set up your personal finances in order to be successful.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And, awesome. Now that I'm back to working, like I literally have a list of things that I've done before. Now a few that I have to do now. Now I'm starting making money again.
Yeah.
So yeah, exciting. What was your third one?
Honorable mention, I'm gonna say Snowball, the biography by Warren Buffett. It would have definitely made it into my top 3 if it wasn't so long. It was 700 pages long, and I was juggling the CPA with Snowball, and it was definitely stressful. It got stressful at one point, and when you're reading, you don't want it to be stressful. And it was a competition, which, by the way, I ended up being the champion.
You did win, yeah.
But yeah, awesome book. So many like life lessons that apply today. Warren Buffett is a beast.
That's, by the way, that's 2 years in a row that you read a 700-page book, because you read Intelligent Investor last year and this year, and they're both related to Warren Buffett. So next year you have to find another 700-page Warren Buffett book.
Warren Buffett, for sure. We'll see.
The other one of Benjamin Graham that I feel like it's super complex.
Nah, it's too old. But anyways, yeah, awesome book. Would have made it if it wasn't too long. I think we talked about it before. We've talked about it before. I think a perfect length of a book is
between 225 and 250.
I was gonna say between 250 and 400 to give it more to give it more leeway. But 700 pages, I think it's too long. It just got into too many small details that I didn't enjoy that much. But overall, great book. But my third book is 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. 198 pages, super short, but it's great if you want to be an entrepreneur, because the guy has created 1 million companies. He was part of the PayPal group that created PayPal. The multimillionaire. He actually came in the news this year because he had billions of dollars in his Roth, and people were criticizing him because that's a loophole that rich people can use. But anyways, apart from that, great book. Can
I give a random fact?
Yeah.
Remember The Social Network, the movie?
Yeah.
Remember the character that Justin Timberlake plays? That guy in real life, he now has a venture capital fund with
Peter Thiel. Awesome, bro.
It's called the Founders Fund. Like
super big fund. I've heard about it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was Justin Timberlake. Awesome.
Well,
awesome.
The character,
yeah. Imagine Justin Timberlake and Peter Thiel.
Peter Thiel. Dream team.
But anyways, awesome book. If you wanna, it motivates you to create companies, and it gives you another perspective of how to create a company.
And it's short, bro.
It's super short.
Books.
Finish it in 2-3 days. It was actually, I think, the first book of the competition. So definitely recommend it. Third best book of 2021 for me.
Love it. So my second one is one that I recommended to you. And I think you purchased it, but you gave it away. It is the Defining Decade.
Defining Decade.
Yeah. So it's a classic self-help books, which we love in the channel. But what I really like is that it's made for youngsters, like us, so people in their 20s.
Yeah.
And the book is separated into 3 parts. It talks about work, it talks about your life, and it talks about love. I think, those are
Which one was more impactful for you?
No, the things that I read it.
I'm kidding, by the way. It's an internal joke.
But. No. But no, actually, it's a good question, because I started reading it and I was like, this book is really good. So I encouraged my brother and my sister to read it. My brother didn't read it. My sister finished it. And we discussed it, and I think his work is really good, bro. Like when I start interviewing again, if I change jobs in the future, I'm gonna read that part again, because it has some really good points. Life has some good points. Love is not that impactful. That's what my sister said, and I kind of agree. But it has some really good points, and I like that it's a self-help book made for people our age. And also, I sent it to the author. The author signed it, and she gave it back. Love the book. Really recommend it.
You love the book? Do you love me?
Yes. That's why I recommended the book. But yeah, if you want to get into self-help, which is something that's a little harder to read, that's a really good book.
I actually got it, and I did kind of a dirty play, because I got the old edition.
Okay.
And I wanted the new one, and I had to give out a gift. So I gave out the old edition, and I'm getting the new edition. So,
nice.
Kind of a dirty play, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. So, what was your next one?
My second book is actually a book that pretty much changed my life. Not my life, but changed one of my habits, and that's sleeping. And it's called Why We Sleep.
Why We Sleep.
We read it early on. We have a video on it from January. And before, I would take sleep for granted. Like I would have the mentality of like grind, like I can go out, go to sleep at 3, wake up at 6, go to work, and when I was doing my internship, and you have no idea how bad that is. And after reading that book, like he pretty much goes over all the negatives of not sleeping and all the positives of sleeping. And after that, every night I have the bedtime app on my phone that tells me my nighttime.
Oh, nice.
So like around 12, I go to sleep to wake up at 8:30 for work. I work from home, so late wake up call. So I try to sleep 8 hours every day, and it's been amazing. Since I'm studying, I can tell a difference. When I don't sleep, I feel groggy during the day. When I sleep, I feel great, and I do better on the multiple choices, everything. So definitely, while we sleep, it's important. Sleep is so important. You have no idea. I definitely recommend it.
That was one of Bill Gates' winter 2020 recommendations, and I think he hasn't had a good recreading recommendations.
He's washed. I'm gonna say when it comes to
Will Gates is washed. Hashtag Will Gates is washed.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. Yeah.
You said Will.
Oh no, Bill. Yeah.
But I was gonna say we have to say it. Bill, he's a great reader. He's read probably 20,000 books more than us. Yeah. But you're washed. Your last book recommendations have been.
But if you want to come in books and beers, like
we'll take you, of course.
We'll take you.
And if you want to give us money too.
Yeah.
For equipment, of course.
Yeah, that was the first book I read. I read this year too. Yeah, and I liked it. Great book. A little too long, but I really liked it, and yeah, it changed my sleeping drastically. And
GOAT book, best book. Top performer of 2021, getting the highest raise.
I didn't love that it was a self-help book, but it did change my life because I started seeing, like, it changed a few aspects that I didn't see it the way that I see it now, and it is the 4 accords, the 4 agreements.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Once again, short book.
Let me tell you, that's a
sleeper.
That's unexpected.
Yeah.
You never talk about that book that much, so. I would have never expected it.
Remember I always say you're taking it personally? That comes from that book.
Okay.
And if you watch Joe Rogan, which I don't watch that often, he loves the book. Like, he's always mentioning it. And the other day, I was stalking casually the founder of Twitter and Instagram, and he had a picture of the book too. Jack,
my boy Jack. Not founder, not CEO anymore. Step down.
Oh, really?
Step down, yeah.
The more you know. But yeah, awesome book. Really like it. Very short. It's like 100, I think it's like 100, 150 pages. Like, pretty small. Really liked it. Very recommended. Very recommended.
Four agreements. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out. Sleeper. So mine, I think it's one of the books that most of our fans have read.
Definitely one that people have read the most.
Definitely one amazing book, and it comes from someone that you would have never expected. Amazing person, super cool guy. It's Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. Did you read it this year or last year?
I read it last year.
That's why I feel like if I would have read it this year, it would have been in your top 3.
And last year we had too many goats, so that's why I didn't have my top 3.
That's why. But Green Lights, just amazing book, phenomenal. I can't say enough. It's when it comes to life, to working, to everything, just everything. It's a book that applies to everyone. And that guy is insane. What he's been through, how he's gotten over everything. And I love the main point, which is whenever you're going through tough times in life, which we all are gonna go through, and even if you're extremely happy now, something bad's gonna happen to you. It's just life. You have to think of it as a yellow light because it's gonna turn green eventually. Nothing bad lasts forever.
Yeah.
And so at that point, you have a video on it, great speech at the end. That point hits home, and it's great. Amazing book.
Yeah, we were literally talking about that, how I had a green light. I was like heated about something, and then it became a green light when I was in Colombia. But yeah, man, amazing book. Love the top 3 recommendations. Well, if you have any top 3 recommendations, like
put them down below.
I have to read 0 to 1. That was the only one that I hadn't read, so yeah, I have to read 0 to 1 next year.
But yeah, I'm excited for next week for our goals for 2022 and see how much we failed in our 2021 goals.
We had one that we said like goals that we want to have in the next, I think, like 5 or 10 years. In one of the Talk to See episodes, we have to do like a few goals that we could compare it to next year. And it's impressive how we forget, because we were watching the video from last week.
We forgot. A year ago we had 67 subscribers.
Yeah. And now we have
313. Yeah. So we're doing good. Subscribe.
Yeah.
Like the video if you enjoyed. Oof, this coffee is hitting different.
And we'll see you next week.
Peace.